Hey guys, John here with the New World Podcast and Palmer Talk. I'll be posting on my two accounts. I'll be posting this video on the YouTube channel, and let's get started. So I have an article from timcast.com, a great site for your news. I definitely recommend them, and they have a podcast, the Timcast IRL podcast, from Monday to Friday. Excellent. They start about 9 p.m. Brazilian time, I think, and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. For wherever you are, I don't know what time it is. So if you're not from Brazil or if you're not in the United States in the East Coast, I don't know what time. I'm sorry. I'm not going to look and find out all of it. I apologize. But you could probably find that out, yourself. So check it out, and let's start this video. SCOTUS overturn of Roe v. Wade is inevitable. In the meantime, move to a red state. So this is an opinion piece. But let's look at this because you guys might not understand some of these words. So SCOTUS. SCOTUS is a reference to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court justices. There are 9 total Supreme Court justices. And they are going to overturn Roe v. Wade, which was a case that was made in Mississippi. And it pretty much allowed abortion to be legalized in the United States, at the federal level at least, and even in the state levels. So let's read this subtitle. Roe has been built up as this black and white abortion freedom ruling, but that's simply not true. So what we're looking at is they're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. So that means that at the federal level, there will be no abortion. But that doesn't mean that the states won't be able to have abortion, won't be able to allow abortions in their state. It depends on their Supreme Court in their states. And for the most part, I imagine that most of the states are going to continue to have abortion, but there will be restrictions. Each state already has restrictions, but I imagine it will only get, there will be more restrictions for some and then less restrictions for others, which for me is already the same thing. It's not going to change too much. So let's go here. It's hard to put into words the seriousness of what the leaker of Justice Samuel Alito's draft opinion did and what it means for the Supreme Court and our future as a country. Yes, this was actually pretty serious. It was leaked, and this has never happened before. Normally, when the justices are going to decide something, it stays between themselves, and then they make a decision, and then people will find out after they made the decision. Right now, there's a draft, so that means it's not something that's final, and it was released, and a lot of people believe it was meant it was leaked to prevent them from actually being able to overturn Roe v. Wade. The person obviously is against this ruling, so they want to continue. They want Roe v. Wade to continue. So obviously it's that. There's another reason, there's another theory out there, and we're going to talk about it in just a little bit. SCOTUS is in a position where they have to push it forward now. If they do not, then the court's integrity is destroyed. Roe v. Wade has been built up as this black and white abortion freedom ruling, where if it doesn't exist, neither do abortions, as we mentioned. It's not true, and that's what it says. That's simply not true. Striking Roe would hand the powers back to the states, where they belong. Something the Casey ruling already essentially. Roe's been dead for 30 years, but you have Eric Swalwell saying this will lead to striking down interracial marriage. Elizabeth Warren calling for an insurrection of the Supreme Court, and the President of the United States saying this will somehow segregate gay children. What? Right? What? Let's continue, right? No Democrats are reprimanding the leaker, who committed a horrific breach of trust and should be universally denounced. Instead, they are celebrating it and looking to exploit it. Adam Schiff called to pack the court, and Bernie Sanders said they will end the filibuster. So, Eric Swalwell and the president making ridiculous comments, in my opinion. It makes no sense, absolutely whatsoever. But what can you do? That's what they do a lot of the times. They try. Both sides will do the same thing. They'll make an argument that has nothing to do with it. But that's what happens. All right, now let's look at Adam Schiff and Bernie Sanders, because what they're saying could be more problematic. I don't care how the draft leaked. That's a sideshow. What I care about is that a small number of conservative justices who lied about their plans to the Senate intend to deprive millions of women of reproductive care. Codifying Roe isn't enough. We must expand the court. So I like how they already tried to deflect. Oh, this was not a problem. The leak is not a problem. What's a problem is that we have a small number of people deciding the fates of millions. Now, if he has such a big problem with that, then maybe we should get rid of the Republic, because technically that's what we do anyways, right? Well, we have a balance of powers, of course, but every one of them, who's in those powers, those positions, typically are there elected, not always. They're put in positions by elected officials, or they are elected by the people, and they are a small number compared to the 300 million in the United States, for example, that help decide what happens, right? So this is a ridiculous argument. And the second part is they never lied. They did not lie to the Senate. This is another lie that they say. Go to Don't Watch Run Productions. Andrew, he's a political analyst, has a great video, explains everything. And this deprive millions of women of reproductive care, not true whatsoever. Also just a facade. I don't know why they do this. Codifying Roe isn't enough. So this is something it's been in a debate for a long time. That's why it hasn't become law. It's not a law, because there has been such a debate over the past 50 years. And now it looks like it's going to get overturned. If it gets overturned, we're going to see in the next part of this article, it will not be able to come back. All right. So he wants to pack the court. What does that mean? He wants to add more justices, which they will never be able to do. They could have maybe done it, but they won't be able to do it, especially not now. Bernie Sanders says Congress must pass legislation that codifies Roe v. Wade as the law of the land in this country now. And if there aren't 60 votes in the Senate to do it, and there are not, we must end the filibuster to pass it with 50 states. So look at that. If you wanted to do this, you would have to go through the Congress. You have to go through Congress and then the Senate, and then get approval from the president, which Biden would do, but you would never be able to get it through Congress. Well, you might be able to get it through Congress, but you will never get it through the Senate. So he wants to end the filibuster. And I disagree with that, because if you want to get things done in the country, you have to have bipartisan support, which that means is the two sides come together. So if you get 60 votes, that means that everybody pretty much agrees to it. And that makes sense to me, to many people, right? 60% instead of just 50% or 51%. So that's what they have. The Senate has only 50 members. They have 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans. So if there are some votes that could end up in a tie, and the vice president, which is Kamala Harris, could decide that she'll vote in favor of the Democrats, and it would pass, because she does have a vote, and so it could be 51. I'm not going to get into it right now, but let's continue with this article, and we'll talk more about that in a future video. The opinion will be released in June. It will take a constitutional amendment requiring 2/3 of both the House and 3/4 of the Senate to undo it. Roe cannot be codified after it's struck down, an action tantamount to codifying Plessy versus Ferguson because you didn't like Brown versus the Board of Education. So once it's undone, it's pretty much gone. It's gone. You know what I mean? So there's no more, at the federal level, abortion. That doesn't mean that you cannot have abortions in your state. So this article says to move to a red state, which is a Republican state. And if you are in favor of abortion, if you want to be able to have an abortion at 9 months, you will just go to another state which allows abortion. And there are many that are going to be near you. And most likely you are complaining about, if people who are complaining about this already live in a state where they can have an abortion up to 9 months, even sometimes 7 days after. And that means that you could pretty much kill the baby. All right, I'm not going to get too much into it. Like I said, I don't want to get into too much details. I just want to go over this with you. The Democrats destroyed their own cities over a drug dealer, and again over a vaccine that we learned yesterday from the Pfizer dump that ironically happened at the same time as the Roe leak, has a 12% efficacy. They lied, they cheated, they stole, and all for power. So guys, I don't want to get too much, but this is the second theory that I was mentioning. They leaked this information, the Roe v. Wade, overturning Roe v. Wade, at the same time they were finding out that the the vaccine was only 12% effective, where they said it was 95% effective. I've mentioned this the past week, and people look at me like I'm lying to them. I had the student read this article, and the student was like, well, it must be a lie. I said, no, it's not a lie. This article is an opinion, but it's not their opinion. It's the data that came from Pfizer that tells that it was only 12%. And when I tell people this, people go crazy about it, all right? They go crazy about it. They don't like me. They think that I'm lying to them. I've been getting really bad looks from my family. And I'm just saying that this is a fact. This is what they're saying. This is what Pfizer themselves, the data that they sent out says, So I don't know why I'm getting this, I'm getting attacked for this, because I never said it before. I never said don't get the vaccine to my family. I just said, hey guys, it should be a choice. That's the only thing I ever said. And now that it's coming out, I'm like, well, look at this, it looks like it wasn't really effective. And they're like, you're wrong, John. I'm like, all right, whatever. That's what that says here. That's the data. What can you do? Let's move on. That tangent, all right, is done. When they realized in April that could no longer outsource their stranglehold on free speech through social media, they announced what is essentially a ministry of truth that will certainly be written into Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. This is another thing, I've talked about this, Elon Musk buying Twitter. So after he did that, Biden created a new department of disinformation, which is the Ministry of Truth. They will decide what is true, what is false, and they will not allow you to to post things anymore if it's not true based on what the government thinks is true. So that's you can take it or leave it. We'll talk about that again also in the future, not right now. We are beelining into recession, showing 1.4 growth last quarter. 2 quarters of that means recession. The poll numbers are horrendous. People are still out of work or held hostage by ridiculous mandates. Inflation is record high, and you can't afford gas to get to your job to feed your kids. There is no faith in elections. There is no faith in our government. Bill Gates is buying up farmland. 2 to 3 food processing plants are mysteriously burning down. COVID's back in the north. There are manufactured supply chain issues. So many things, right? So it looks like we're going downhill pretty quickly, not looking good. All right, so this part here, this is something I'm going to talk about too. The 2 to 3 food processing plants are mysteriously burning down. We're going to have food shortages very soon, and the fact of the matter is because of these things burning down and the supply chain issues. So I can't believe that we're going to have serious issues, which I talked about in a previous video, global shortages, food shortages. And it's not just because of this, it's because of Russia-Ukraine war and other reasons, of course, and China shutting down everything. Not good, guys. But let's keep moving on. So what did they do? Leak the political A-bomb, which is Roe v. Wade overturning. None of the real concerns matters anymore because millions will die if they are accountable, if they have accountability. Of course, none of this is true. All states can do right now are total bans, although Mississippi might opt for it barring rape, incest, health, but otherwise nothing will change. Some states will cut off at 6 weeks, others at 15 weeks. 15. The monsters among us will not only still have abortion on demand in California and Colorado, but they can still get it right up to birth like total psychos. If anything, sanctuary abortion states will emerge where women can go to end their babies' lives without regulation. We have 50 states. That's 50 legislatures making 50 decisions on when life begins that reflect their state. Roe allowed for this in a second and third trimesters. Casey in first. So this leak is over, something that hasn't existed. So this leak is over, something that hasn't existed in 30 years. But Democrat voters are stupid. Their men are weak, and their women are too emotional, lazy, and gullible to accept this, despite having literally never read any of these rulings for which they march. Our country could use a divorce, but that means relinquishing unthinkable levels of power and influence. We are in uncharted waters, and it's about to get much more ugly. Stand by, stay present, stay vigilant, and get to a red state. So their opinion, as you could tell, they have a bias, which is no problem for me, because it's an opinion article. So you should realize that there will be a bias. But that's what it is, guys. That's pretty much what's going to happen. Nothing's going to really change. I hope that you guys learn some stuff. You guys can have this. I'm going to actually link this article in the description so you guys can be able to use it. All right. So, guys, thank you so much. Be safe. Right? I want to use this here. Stay present, stay vigilant, and get to a red state. All right? Even if you're in Brazil, try to get somewhere. Be careful, guys, though. For real. Like and subscribe and follow, and peace out.